Hello everybody and welcome to my playlist Sewing Made Easy. My name is Lilo. If you've been watching some of my videos so far, you've seen that I mainly like to work with industrial sewing machines. Those are my favorites because that's how I learned to sew with all of them. But they do have one little handicap, as I would like to say it, because when I work with industrial sewing machines, I only have one possibility on one machine. That means I either got a straight stitching machine or I have an extra machine where I'm just making buttonholes with, or I have a machine where I do all my overlocking. Another machine again, I can do some cover stitching, which means for many different jobs I need many different sewing machines, industrial. And that is the reason why I decided about 5 months ago to buy myself a normal household sewing machine. Because if I buy a good one, I decided on, I will have so many functions in one machine. As an example, my main idea was that I wanted a sewing machine where I can make loads of different buttonholes with, and I wanted some good buttonholes because I once had quite a while ago a household sewing machine and the buttonholes were terrible. They were just not nice. They came out all uneven. When the material was a little bit too thick, they wouldn't make them straight, or the machine wouldn't like to transport on. So there are really big differences in sewing machines. Now I'd like to tell you about my Janome Skyline S5, which I, as I said, bought approximately 5 months ago. I didn't do this video right away for you because I wanted to test it out first, to be able to say, do I really like this particular one? How is it for me? If I buy a machine and do the video right away, it's only to talk about the machine, not how happy I am with it or how much I like it. So, let me tell you a little bit about this sewing machine. I won't be able to tell you everything unless I make a 2-hour video out of it, so I hope you understand that. But I like to tell you about the main functions and what I think is very good on the machine. Alright, here we go. So let's talk about the Skyline S5, my new Janome sewing machine. It really has loads and loads of features, but before I go into the features, I would like to talk about the price and the standard accessoires, first of all, that the machine brings along. The price, yes, it is not a cheap machine. I paid around 900 euro for it, and depending on where you look, or if you go directly to a dealer, I believe you will pay between 900 or 1200 euro. So if you're interested in a machine like that, do have a good look around, because you do get special deals, mainly if they have some celebrations or something like that. But as I said, let's look first of all at the standard accessoires that the machine brings along. Well, first of all, the machine comes with the main foot that you will be using, which is the zigzag foot. It is already attached to the machine when you unpack the machine. You must know, when you buy a very cheap machine, maybe you have 2 or 3 different feet included in the price. And that is the reason why I like to show to you how many feet there's actually with this machine for how many different jobs, because that is important. If you have a machine and you got to start buying the extra feet for it, it really goes into money, because they're all not cheap. That's what I found when I've been looking for the machine I would like to buy. And believe me, I looked around a long time before I decided on this particular one. So the next foot that comes with it is the rolled hem foot. As you can see here, the material will be guided into there while sewing to make the particular rolled hem foot that you might want to do. The next one is a zipper foot. That means you can really stitch nicely and very tight on both sides along the zipper, as it has the guides for it here very well, and it's a relatively small foot which is perfect for stitching the zippers in. I tried it and it really works. For very fine material, you have a so-called satin stitch foot. What is nice about it, you can, if you want to do some really exact sewing, you have this foot all the way see-through, so that helps you really a lot. And you have the guide here pointed out exactly where you can put your needle, so you know where you're going along. Then you have this foot, which is usually, when you buy it extra, quite expensive on loads of machines. You can see it has this guide here right in the middle, in front of where your needle will be stitching in. This is to do the hems, like an example on a skirt or on a dress, so you don't see it after doing it, as it is complained in the book also to you. The next one, a very special foot, is the overcast foot. A special seam foot, again here with a guide on the side. As you can see, it looks totally different. So according to the seam you like to do, you have all the guides you need for it. You have this special darning foot to do any kind of quilts you like to do. Also that one, if you have to buy it extra, if it's not included in the machine you're buying, will cost an awful lot of money. And here comes one of the main reasons why I decided on this machine. It has a very, very good proper foot for making buttonholes, and it has an extra guide for it, because you will find, if you have very thick or moving materials, that your buttonhole, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, does not want to stitch very nicely. So you would put your material in between the buttonhole foot and this guide, and your buttonhole will come out perfectly. It's quite a huge part, but it's necessary to be that size, and it's really done very well, firm made, not only just of plastic, a lot of steel with it, so that gives it the firmness and the good quality of this particular foot. Then you got this very special one here. It's called the even feet foot. It practically gives you a double transport on the material that might be sliding all over the place when you do the sewing, because you can see here by the little zigzag crabs that you got there. While sewing, these go down onto the material and hold the material as well from the top as with your transport from underneath, and guide the material through at the same time. That means it will stay exactly in the right position on top of each other. And if necessary, you have a special guide for it as well, if you always want a very even seam, and you can put it to different widths as it's necessary for you. Then we do have this little foot for stitching buttons on. Very handy as well, who don't like to work with just with a needle to put a button on. And an extra little quilt guide is this foot, which you can add onto other feet on as well. It's not the same one, not that you think, oh, it's the same one she showed us before. No, it's smaller. It's because that one is specially for the other foot that I showed you before. I shouldn't mention to you that with a €1,000 machine there will also be one tiny little screwdriver with it, or a little brush for the cleaning. To my opinion, that should be automatically with it, without even mentioning it in the brochure. This particular item is a touch panel that you should use when you're working on your display here. First of all, maybe somebody got very thick fingers and you can't really touch this so well, and that's why you can work exactly to choose the programs that we will be talking later about. What else is important to mention is an extra needle plate. When you look at these, you can see with this particular needle plate there's no way I could do a zigzag, because the needle will be stitching into here, and as this plate does not move when it's in the machine, I couldn't do a zigzag. So when you work with different feet, doing different jobs, looking for an extra program, you got to watch out which plate you got in, because this particular one is only for straight stitching. That's why it is in your accessoires with the machine in the box, while when you open the machine, this one is inside already, which has an extra white hole here for doing the zigzag stitching or buttonhole stitching, then also you could not use this particular plate. You would have to change it. Now, what you might have just seen, I've done something very, very simple, because this machine has this little snap-on button here in the back. That means whenever I want to change a foot, it doesn't matter which one, I just lift my foot in the back where the little lever is. I put my foot underneath, exactly where it's got to slip in. I let my foot down without doing anything. So this is a very, very simple and very quick way to change any kind of feet you like to change on the machine. Another important accessoire is my knee lifter. As I'm used to working on industrial machines, I really never ever, or hardly never ever, use my little hand lifter which is in the back of the machine. Therefore, I have this particular hole here. I just push my knee lifter in, and when I sit in front of the machine, all I have to do is push it back to the right side with my knee. That means I got all my hands free for the actual sewing, for the working, and that is important. I might have to hold this. It's very difficult to do something difficult I'm sewing, and now I'm supposed to lift this foot. Then that means I only got one hand for working. With a knee lifter, this is no problem. So, to my opinion, this is very important when you buy a machine for yourself. Make sure you got a knee lifter with it. You will get used to this so fast, and you say, God, why was I stitching before with a machine that doesn't have this particular accessoire with it? So please, your next machine, buy it with a knee lifter. It's mentioned in the handling book that the machine comes with a power cable. Well, ladies, gentlemen, I don't think this should be even mentioned, that a machine for €1,000 comes with a cable at the same time. So let's not discuss this further on. There's also something else they mention. They say there's 4 spools with it. Well, actually, when I opened and undid my whole machine, there were only 3 with it. So that is a joke. Somebody who buys a €1,000 sewing machine needs more than 3 spools or 4 spools in the machine. That's why I suggest you immediately order or buy yourself some extra spools with it. That is, to my opinion, a very, very weak point that somebody has to mention. There's 4 spools with it. Like I said, and then I only had 3 anyway inside the machine. So that's something you got to buy extra right away. The same with some needles. Yes, there are a couple of needles with the machine already in the box. Also the extra double one, the double needle one. But I don't think this should have been mentioned either. To €1,000, this is my absolutely must-have in the machine that should be there. But now comes another part which is very, very important to me. It's my foot control. As I will show you later on, I can start and stop the machine with my start and stop button, of course. But I'm so used for my industrial sewing machines with a foot controller, and that's why I got this one, and that's the same as the knee lifter. You definitely need this to be able to work properly, to have your hands free for everything. So the foot holder, I will later on just push into the right side, into the connecting hole. But at the moment, we just continue right here first to explain you 1 or 2 things. For some of your spools or your needles for the sewing machine or for some feet, you do have a little storage area here, which you open up, you can lift out, and you got some space in there. But that's quite small, and I rather put it in one nice little box where I can find everything easily. But the main reason what you can do with this part here is pull it out on the left side, so you have at any time a free sewing arm. Let's say you have a very tight sleeve or bottom trousers where you like to make or stitch the seam on the bottom, then you can easily use this small arm for those kind of reasons. Now, if you say, oh well, that table that was on before, it's a bit small for working on, isn't it? Well, therefore, also included in the price for this machine, you get a real nice extending table. I have not added this on yet because I'm not using it at the moment, but I'll explain to you anyway. You have extra feet which you will screw underneath, which holds it up exactly level with the machine, and you got this real nice table for working on. Because if you work on a coat as an example, you do need some more space for working on, not that the whole coat keeps falling down while you do your sewing. So this is really nice, and you do have your inches and your centimeters on here, so you can quickly measure something at the same time. So that is quite handy to have, I must say, on this particular machine. So let's first of all look at the main functions of the machine. Of course, after you switched your machine on, so it's ready to go. And you should try, when you got the machine new and haven't done any sewing on it, first of all to do some straight stitches on the foot and on the plate that's in already. Lift your foot either with your lever from the back or with your knee lever. That is all up to you. As I'm not sitting in front of the machine at the moment because the camera is here, I'm trying to do this for you on the side. And of course you let the foot down again. When your start-stop button, which is probably your most important being used button, is on green, that means you're ready to go. I have not connected my foot pedal yet because I want to first of all show you how you're using the start and stop button. Because if you're starting to sew and just hold it in, it will go very slowly. When I let go, it goes to the speed that I set here. If you're a starter, you should also here maybe start with a very slow motion first and then increase it while going along. Or if you wish in the beginning, you leave it on the speed, on a slow speed, however you wish. Now you see, I haven't finished my sewing, so automatically the needle stays in the material, which is very good because maybe you haven't finished the seam but you want to do a corner sewing. So that means the needle is in the material, you can turn your material around, lever it down, and you're ready to continue stitching right there. But I will just stay in this position at the moment for you because I like to show you the next button, which is just above, which is the reverse button. This is the button you will use when you're starting a seam and when you're ending a seam, of course. So you hold it in, I hope you can see this because my hands will be in the way, and it's going backward a couple of stitches and it stops again after I've done 2 or 3, depending how well you like to fasten your stitch in the beginning and the end. And you continue with your sewing then. Like I say, when you hold it in like that, it goes very slow. If I let go, it starts going this speed, so I gotta stop it again. But it shows me I'm on green, that means I could also finish. So in the moment, I would say I just do a back and forward stitching, as is supposed to be the end of my sewing at the moment here. And now I want to cut the thread off, and that is exactly this sign. This is perfect for, again, having all your hands free for any kind of other work. So I push that button once. Now I lift my foot again, and you can see my last stitch is already cut off perfectly, and the thread on the top and on the bottom has the correct length to continue with the next stitching, whatever you want to do. Another option this machine has, it's this button right here. It's called the auto lock button. It has the function when you're sewing certain stitch patterns, which will be mentioned in your operating book, the machine will immediately sew locking stitches and automatically stop when the auto lock button is pressed. When sewing all other patterns, the machine will sew to the end of the current pattern, sew locking stitches and stop automatically. The machine will trim the threads automatically after locking the stitches when the auto thread cutting is turned on. And the next button you see just above here shows you a triangle upwards and a triangle downwards. That's clearly that belongs to the needle because it's the needle up and down button. This one you press to bring the needle bar up or down as needed while you do your sewing. But now let's look at some more functions that the machine has. Therefore, I just open this top lid. Also increased in here is of course a big handle for carrying this machine because it's quite heavy, and that's a really good strong handle to carry the machine around. Okay, so I repeat, you open this lid that you have here on the top, and there you see the huge variety of all kinds of stitching that you can do with this machine. Starting with the normally used ones, straight ones, zigzags, all the different buttonholes, the letters in different languages even here. So this is really a lot that you can do with it. Also in the top here is your threads and your spool, where you can fill the spool at any time. I don't want to go into this because if you buy this machine, this is so easily shown with files everywhere, exactly as you can see on here. It's the same on the top, how to thread the machine. You can't really go wrong with this. Oh, I also didn't mention it does have a help for threading the needle down here, which is this lever that you bring down and you can fold it into there. But this is so easy, I do not like to spend time in this video to tell you all about this. All right, let me explain to you how you use the display and what you do with it. Okay, at the moment you can see on here we are in the mode number 1, which is mentioned there. That means if I stay in this mode here, which you would change right here, if I stay in this mode, I can do all stitch variations in this mode number 1. Otherwise I would have to change the mode to do the other one. So that's clearly. And meanwhile I like to say this anyway. Everything is done really so well and explained that you can't go wrong. Even if you haven't had a machine before, you can really easily learn how to use this, and I think this is very important to know. So anyway, let's say we like to do a stitch from the mode number 2. That means first of all I have to change the mode, and to change the mode all I do, you see here on the left side the number 1, we got 6 different modes on this machine. So all I do is I push the mode once and it goes to that mode that you might want to do. By keep on pushing, you get all different modes. But I like to go back to number 1, mode number 1 or number 2, and I will choose something else. Now, I don't know if you've been watching this at the same time here on the right side, because I've chosen the mode here, but watch this sign, because you can see this is your foot. By changing the mode, as an example, this one tells me at the moment that this would be my foot F. This is still foot F, foot F, foot F, because I have not changed this number. Now I'm back to number 1. When you turn the machine on, it automatically starts with the mode number 1, and it also shows me the straight stitch, which is 01, and the foot is A. But let me continue. I go to mode number 2. Now I look up here what I would like to do. Let's say I would like to do these little hearts here, which has the number 46. So first of all, I will now put in my number 46. And now it changed from foot A, as you can see, to foot F. Because if I want to do this heart design up here, I would have to have the foot F on, which I showed to you earlier on, and you just change it. Now the next thing is on here, which is very important. You might want this heart to be a little bit wider or a little bit tighter stitched. So this is the width, obviously, it shows it to you automatically, while this is the length of the stitches continuation. And here the same. It might have already the highest number on, so if you click on there, you can't make it any wider. But you can try, and you see, you can make the hearts a little bit smaller, so they're not quite as wide, depending on where you want to use it. And the same with the length of the stitch. See, it didn't go any higher. I can't make it longer than 2.5, but I can do it less. I can make it much tighter. And that is exactly the same way to do all the stitches. You first choose the mode, then you put the number in of the design that you've chosen, and then you put the stitch widths and the lengths in which you wish. If you like to combine, let's say you like to have these hearts going, then you want right away some leaves next to it or a flower next to it, then you would put that in, and you got the memory here, the memory button on the display. So all you would have to do is then, after you've chosen this pattern once, you go on memory. Now you choose your next pattern, go on memory, and so on, and then the machine will automatically stitch you exactly that memory pattern that you put in. All right, so that is briefly how you can do this. Now let me come back to the actual sewing. As I just showed you how I've been doing all the sewing with my start and stop button, I would now like to connect my foot pedal, and there's on the side my little hole where I will connect it into, because now in the moment I connected this and I want to do some sewing and I would try to use this, it probably wouldn't work. See that? Because you can see here now it shows me that I got my foot pedal connected. And the moment the foot pedal is connected, I cannot use this button. So that's what you got to know. And here you can, with the foot, you can decide how fast or how slow you want to go. You can see this the way I'm doing this with my hand. If I only click on it, I only get one stitch is done. But if I want to really go fast, then I do this. And of course, the same, if I want to go backwards, I must hold this in, and I've done my backward stitching, and the cutting off is the same with the thread, so I can take my material out again. So the upper buttons don't change when the foot pedal is in, but this button is not to be used when you got the foot pedal connected. These are some patterns that are done already with the machine, which I don't necessarily need to show you now. The same with the buttonholes. I can show you these buttonholes that I've done with this machine. You can, the same as you for the different design patterns, you can change the widths and the lengths of the stitches. You can do the same with a buttonhole. As an example, if you have a very fine material, a silk or something like that, you want a nice and tight buttonhole. But if you have a woolly, a thick material, maybe you like to have the space a little bit bigger, because otherwise it's always so difficult to cut this open. So again, on this machine you can change the widths and the lengths of the stitches however needed, and that is just fantastic. So my result and my conclusion on this machine is that I think, after searching a long time around what to buy, which will be the best for me, I think I've chosen the right machine, because so far as I've been using it, it's done every job perfectly for me, and I'm really satisfied with the way it works and how easy it is to handle. And I think that is one of the main important things you need to have for a sewing machine. It's got to sew properly, it's got to have different items as I showed to you, as accessoires as I showed to you in the beginning of the video, and it just needs to be easy to handle and to understand. With this, I would like to wish you a nice day now, as I'm at the end of my little video for you here. I hope you could understand everything with my so-called German, English-German. I tried my best, that's all I can do. And whenever you decide to buy a machine, I'm not saying buy a Janome. This was my decision. You got to make your own decision. You got to look for your own model. But I wanted to show you which possibilities you have if you're looking for one. Wishing you a good time. God bless. And give me some thumbs up. Not always these thumbs down. That's not nice. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Just turn it off. Go to somebody else. All right. All the best to you. Goodbye.